Hi, my name is Gonzalez. I'm the Community Engagement Relationship Coordinator for Chicago and the Midwest region here at Working Credit. I am a father of two boys and one bonus daughter, which is super awesome. And then I want to say 50% of my personality is me being a dad, and the other half of my personality is me being a runner. I am a co-founder of a run club here in Brownsville called Seven on Sundays.
Ian, what led you to Working Credit, and how has your experience as a father influenced your decision to work in community engagement?
Before working at Working Credit, I was an entrepreneur and I owned the only BIPOC-owned running store in the state of Illinois. Fast forward 3 years later, I had to make that hard decision to close. Just it grew, but it just didn't get to that threshold for me, right? After about 18 months of searching for employment, it took me a while to narrow down what was important to me, and did a lot of community work in serving the greater Chicago area, making running more accessible to Black and brown runners. I realized that whatever I have to do if I want to start a new career has to be in service to my people, to my community. As a father, as an entrepreneur, learning how to build and protect my credit was something that I was never taught and didn't really understand how important it was. Community engagement for me is something that I can continue to involve my children in. Like I did a tabling event with Clarice in the South Chicago neighborhood a few weekends ago, and I was able to take my 8-year-old August with me to the event to pass out flyers and meet people in the community. And that's something that's always been important to me, to be able to involve my children in my work. But August in particular, like he loves going to work with me and being involved and seeing what his dad does.
Is how do you balance your role as a parent and a professional in a mission-driven organization such as Working Credit?
Growing up in a single parent household, I watched my mother, she was a Chicago police officer, and I watched her trade time with her family for money with her family. And the reason I wanted to be a business owner was because I didn't want to make that decision. And being here at Working Credit and being in an organization that's mission driven, but also understands how important family is to being able to fuel yourself for that mission is beautiful, because I don't want to have to figure out how to balance. I want to be 100% community engagement and relationship coordinator and 100% dad at the same time. I mean, the ability to, work from home, be at home with my family, and then, like I said, being able to take him to certain things and continue to involve him in my work is awesome. My other two children are a lot older, so they just want my paycheck. They don't really want to spend time in my job.
So, in what ways has being a father shaped how you build relationships with community partners or participants?
Oh my God, being a parent of one child is enough to be able to give you flexibility in any and all situations. But being a parent of three very different children, it gives you that ability to meet people where they are, because that's what I have to do. Like the conversation I'm having with my 19-year-old son. It's a different conversation. It's different, but similar conversation I'm having with my 16-year-old daughter, and very different from the conversation I'm having with my 8-year-old son. And being able to meet people where they are, being able to transform language, transform messaging, kind of like on a drop of a dime, just to be able to make sure everybody's on the same page, is definitely a skill that I take from fatherhood and into my job as community engagement, because you learn very quickly that people receive information and receive intention of your actions very, very differently. And you have to be able to meet those people where they are.
How do you approach conversations about financial freedom, both at home and in your community?
My relationship with my oldest son, Julius, He's 19 years old. I became a single father and acquired sole custody of him at like 17 years old, right? And so he's seen it all. Like, I'm not one of those parents who kind of like fib about, growing up. And it's like, oh yeah, I went to all of my classes, like I did everything right and you need to learn from me. I can't do that with him. He was there for all of it. And that's also like, uh, the difficulties I had in school, my desire to consistently chase my dreams of entrepreneurship and the sacrifices that I have, placed on our family because of that mission, right? And even now, going into starting a career and really focusing on building like a level of financial stability. So he's seen all of these mistakes. Some of these things he finds very attractive, like entrepreneurship. But I have a conversation with him. I was like, hey, Julius, you saw how hard it was for me to get a job and to find like meaningful employment without a college degree. Like, everything changes when you have a college degree. So when he had conversations around potentially dropping out of school because his first year was difficult, and he was like, hey, I could just work for a little while, come back. I tell him, I was like, Julius, if this is hard now, it's only going to get harder as you get older. Going back to school as an adult when you have responsibility and bills doesn't make it more easier. And the crux of that conversation was around him understanding that freedom is attached to options. And what you want to do is have as many options as possible. Like learning what I'm learning here about credit, having that conversation that cash is king, but credit is the king maker, and being able to build and protect your credit is just as important as making six figures at a job or six figures in your business.
You see Working Credit's mission supporting fathers and families in the Chicago and Midwest area.
Same conversation I'm having with my young adult son and my teenage daughter, it's the same conversation I'm having with grandparents and parents out here in the field, like out here at these events. And I really feel like the information that we have here at Working Credit, the ability to actually understand what your credit is and how important it is and how to build it, how to protect it, is really what puts fathers and puts families in a position to be able to provide for themselves and their families in a more holistic way. That's such a difficult question. So I can really only speak from my experience. I remember when Julius's mom was pregnant, we was in high school. We had to sit down with a social worker. And I remember that social worker in front of me telling his mom that, she was trying to convince his mom not to, have a child in high school, which the intentions were great, but the delivery was horrible. She was just in there telling her that I'm not going to be there for her, that I was not going to be a dad. Her way of scaring Juice's mom was just to tell her, like just in front of me, that I was not going to be a father and I was not going to help her raise this child. She was going to raise this child on her own. I mean, the ironic thing is, like, I ended up raising our child on my own for a very long time. But the reason I tell that story is because, like, growing up, seeing other young fathers and seeing grown men become dads, and I think, like, the conversation that I've constantly seen has been one of the lack of importance that Black fathers have in the family unit and in a child's life. We feel more like a lot of the men that I've seen have children in the last 20 years that I've been a dad has been, they're optional. They're not needed. They're not necessary. And if they're going to be around, it's more about utility than about care and love and passion. And Black men, we want to be dads, but and I wish there was more opportunities for us to really, really be able to understand what that looks like in becoming a father.
How can other people and community members better show up for and support Black fathers?
Give Black fathers the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Give them more space. There's no rule book or like there's no guidelines and no how to be a parent, right? And I think the being a Black parent comes with a lot more, right? A lot more trauma, a lot more history, the first expectation for Black fathers isn't love. It isn't taking the children to the park. It isn't taking your child out in the stroller for a walk. It's make sure you can put food on the table for that child. So giving us an opportunity to be better at that, especially when, like I said, I live in a Black community. Majority of the Black communities around me, the median income in the household is less than $50,000. So just understand the environment in which we are becoming dads is also important. Acknowledging the additional barriers that Black men have with fatherhood or becoming a father, being accepted as a dad is very real, and I hope one day our community is able to come to grips with that.
Is there anything else you want to say or mention?
The only other thing that I can say is anybody who might be reading this or watching this, especially here in Chicago where I do a lot of my work on the ground, is like I'm here for you. Like everything that I'm doing here is to make myself better and more available to you, to your organization, to you as a parent, to you as a participant, to you as a father. And any way that I can show up and meet you where you are, my eyes are wide open, my ears are open, and I'm ready to find out what's the best way that I can support you all.